What is up, everyone? Kilrian here, bringing you another video. I know it's been a long time, but I felt that it was necessary for me to go ahead and actually give y'all a BDO video, seeing as how I still am playing the game, and one of the more popular videos on the channel has to do with cooking. And so this video, as you can tell by the title, has to do with guru cooking, specifically how to actually craft the Valencia meal. Now, with guru cooking, if you have not already achieved guru level, so gone through apprentice, skilled, master, all the way up to guru, then you would need to take a look at one of my older videos, which you can find on my channel. Specifically, if we were going to be looking at it, we would actually look at the Easy Guide to Imperial Cooking, Beginner to Master. That kind of guides you along that process. And another huge video that you should check out, or check out after we kind of discuss this, is going to be the complete meat gathering guide, because this will address the locations, and I will touch on them in this video as well. But Valencia meal as a whole, once you achieve guru, in my opinion, is the best meal to actually pursue. The reason why is because it's pretty straightforward. First and foremost, if you haven't already gotten accustomed to cooking as a whole, one huge tool that you need access to is the F2 function. F2 within Black Desert Online will bring up this adventure board, and then specifically the crafting notes. Crafting notes, anytime that you end up searching for something, it will actually give you the full list of all the different items that you need to actually craft with it, as well as how to do that. So with that in mind, I am going to go over each individual item within the Valencia meal and where and how you actually end up crafting this. As I mentioned before, I really like Valencia because everything that you find or need is either gathered by yourself, which is specifically just the meats within this, or obtained by workers primarily in the Valencia region. So we will be addressing a couple of different specific nodes that you're going to need access to, as well as the gathering locations where you are going to personally be gathering the meat for this, for the whole thing. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into why you also want to make these meals. Because that's really why everyone cares about making them. And how I personally have used cooking in the time that I have been playing BDO. That is specifically the Guru Cooking Box. Once you achieve Guru Cooking, you can actually do Guru Cooking Boxes by packaging these Valencia meals and basically trading these in with a daily value to an Imperial delivery individual in each major city. So Califon, Hydel, Valencia, as well as Altanova. Let's see here. Whenever you actually end up selling this, after making these guru boxes, right? Making the guru boxes, making the Valencia meal, I can sell this. Right now I have 34.8 mil. Sell this, boom, 35.75, right? Almost 1 million silver, and I can do 186 of those every single day, which is just massive. It's passive income at its finest within BDO, and the number one reason why you actually want to learn how to make these and do these yourself to maximize your overall profits. So, pulling up the crafting notes, the first item of the Valencia meal that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be couscous. Now, couscous is one of these things that actually has other subset materials or crafts within it. So looking at this quickly, we see the Freaka Snake Stew, which is, we're going to have to craft this separately, and I'll go into that in a second here. Nutmeg. Nutmeg is something that you're going to find specifically from your workers in a couple of different locations. One, you get a little bit, actually, whoops, wrong spot there. You're going to be getting a little bit from different nodes, such as right here, the Bazaar farmland, right off Sangream Bazaar. You definitely want to be running this, and even if you're not a cook, this is one of the most valuable nodes that you can possibly obtain. In conjunction with that, there is one over here, if I recall correctly. Anyway, that is the one node that I actually can think of off the top of my head with it. There is one other node. I have to find that location a little bit later. But I already scuffed that. Where is this taking me? Onto the crafting notes. Back to the couscous. Nutmeg, you're going to have this from specifically workers. So by Gahaz Bandits is the other location. So up in that same general area. Cabbage. Now cabbage, it might say cabbage here, but this actually just means vegetables. Now the specific vegetable that we're actually going to be using for this is going to end up being paprika. Now paprika is something that you can obtain from nodes, but for the most part, you're actually going to be buying these from vendors. And this is something that I heavily address in my beginner up to master crafting or cooking guide, because you can actually obtain that from the fruit vendor within Calpheon. But if you do want to have workers running for this, you can find it at the Northern Wheat Plantation. You can also use pumpkin, which you can find at like the Alejandro Farm, as well as olives up at the Whale Farm. All of these things, you can have workers running. You can use that to make the couscous. Next thing, let's look over here. With the couscous, you also have your teff flour dough. Teff is found in the Valencia region, and there are multiple nodes that you can have workers. So this is strictly a worker and processing type thing, as well as mineral water, which you find from cooking vendors in Heidel, and a lot of other materials that we are going to be addressing through this. If you have cooked up to guru level, you're probably familiar with the cooking, the general cooking vendors. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at thick frika, or the frika stew. Now, this is where you're going to have to actually start implementing a little bit of your gathering, as well as still relying on your workers. Frika is something that you are strictly going to be relying on your workers from, along with the star anise. Both of these, as mentioned before, are found within Valencia. You're going to be finding your star anise at the Shikatu farmland, to the left of Shikatu, or the west of Shikatu. And then you're going to have frika in a couple of different locations. Let's see here. Going to have one here in Valencia. So west of Valencia, there's the Erdal farm, or not the Erdal, the Valencia platoon, which is going to be providing you frika here. And then there is also a couple of other nodes, such as the Bamboo Valley, which provide you frika. I personally don't have this because I try to let my workers stockpile a large portion of everything and then do one large cook following that. And then the other item that you actually needed was going to be snake meat for couscous. Now going back to crafting notes. With the frika snake stew, and one thing to actually note about the frika snake stew as a whole, this is actually utilized in two of the required meals, or the required items, subset items that you're going to be making for the Valencia meal. So you will actually be making a fairly large amount of the frika snake stew. Now, snake meat as a whole is something that's almost impossible to buy from the marketplace, alongside scorpion meat, which is also necessary for this for these meals. And so in my cooking or my meat gathering video that I kind of addressed earlier, the primary location that you're going to want to go for this is going to be found southwest of Tashira Ruins, right over here. And you can go check out the video if you want to see that rotation. But this is actually a perfect ratio between scorpion and snake in this location, and that is where you will be gathering that meat for this meal. All right. Moving forward off of couscous, we're going to be taking a look at the Tef Sandwich. So as you can clearly see, I'm pulling up F2 consistently every single time here. That is how useful this is. Literally any time that you're going to be cooking, you should be pulling up F2 and calculating out the exact number of materials and everything like that that you're going to need for it. So moving into the Tef sandwich. So, first and foremost, you see the freak snake stew. This is the other one that I was referring to, saying that it will be used in multiple different recipes within the Valencia meal. And so here's where it shows up again. Same thing, snake meat, freaka, you get it from workers. Star anise, you get it from your workers. The rest of the materials, you're getting from a vendor. Tef bread. Tef bread, super straightforward. Salt, mineral water, and leavening agent. All three of these things are purely found from your vendors. Tef flour is purely from your workers. Super easy to make as a whole. And you're going to need a lot of Tef bread for this meal. That is one thing that can get a little frustrating. So definitely maximize the amount of Tef that you're getting, in my opinion. Like, you can get some from the Kaposha spot, you get some from the Bizarre Farmlands. Honestly, I end up having to buy some Tef because the amount of like Tef that it actually wants you to get for these meals is just kind of nutty as a whole. And Tef is always really readily available. Another thing to note about this as a whole is don't be afraid to buy items from the marketplace if it makes your life a little bit easier. If you don't want to go ahead and make or gather all that Tef, and you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of your profits, you can just buy straight materials, right? You can buy Tef bread straight from the marketplace. As long as you are the one gathering and doing a lot of the other processing, you are inherently increasing the amount of money that you're going to make with those daily turn-ins. Like I said, I'm personally making around 150 mil to 200 mil a day just from those turn-ins. So, pulling this back up. Tef bread, we already addressed that. Freaka snake stew, we addressed that. Red sauce. Red sauce is pretty straightforward as a whole. Your base sauce, your water, and your sugar. All of these things are purely from your vendor. This says pork, but you can use really any red meat or standard red meat. This is going to be lamb, wolf, which I address these kind of gathering spots as well in my meat gathering video. Deer. That is usually what you're going to end up using to make a red sauce. This is also a great overnight crafting recipe if you are trying to, be productive overnight with cooking as well. And then lastly, your grilled scorpion. So here's where the scorpion comes into play. This is the only thing that you have to do with scorpion in the entire Valencia meal crafting. You're looking at 3 scorpion meat, 3 nutmeg, which your workers are gathering, 2 butter, which the main thing about this is that you're going to be looking at cream, which is a byproduct of your milk. So usually what you want to end up doing in this situation, you can use these turn-in box or these turn-in seals. Let me look for them. You can turn in these seals for milk, because realistically everything underneath this, outside of supreme cooking utensils, in my opinion, milk is going to be one of your strongest options for this. You can you can go that avenue, or what I used to have is a ton of my alts placed here in Olvia. Basically, there are cows that you can milk in this location right up here. And so that's how you maximize actual profit, by having a bunch of different characters. You place them next to cows, you milk them, once you actually cap out your energy for it. Let's go back over here. And lastly, once you process your butter by getting the milk and the other material from the vendor, you're looking at hot peppers. Hot peppers are something where you're going to have a farming alt. So with your farming alt, hot peppers, I usually will just place all of my farms, which I haven't tended to them, so you actually don't see them right here. But all you need to do is just get hot pepper right here. Now, it calls for 3 hot peppers, but what you actually want to do in this situation is you could use 1 special hot pepper or 1 high quality hot pepper. Ideally, you want to use the high quality, realistically. Or if you don't mind planting or rebuying a bunch of seeds, you can also buy hot pepper seeds from the seed merchant in Calpheon. There's a seed merchant in Calpheon that you can buy the baseline one. Or what I usually will end up doing is I'll just go in here, place a pre-order, and eventually you'll get some of these. You'll eventually get some of these, so these are always good to have. And once you do 1 or 2 harvests, that's usually enough for all the different crafts that you're going to need. But you'll do 1 high-quality hot pepper, 1 special hot pepper, or 3 regular hot peppers to achieve that. But that is just a farming alt, which is another thing that I do strongly encourage having for passive income. With that you combine all those materials, you end up getting your Tef sandwich. Next up, we're going to be looking at the King of Jungle Hamburg. Now this item in itself, people are willing to pay quite a bit of money for this. Like, if you get yellow procs of the King of the Jungle Hamburg, you should probably, unless you are only doing turn-ins, like only doing turn-ins, you should probably sell any yellow procs of your King of Jungle Hamburg, because people are willing to pay good money for it. Primary reason for that is the lion meat. Lion meat is going to be something that you do have to end up gathering yourself. You can buy them on the market. It is a pretty penny, and it's definitely going to be a pre-order. So you have to get a little lucky getting a pre-order filled, but these do somewhat often get sold. So if you do want to avoid gathering your own lion meat, because it is kind of annoying in this location, like right over here, then you can go about buying it on the marketplace. Let's see. Hamburg. There we go. Once again, we're seeing nutmeg, a recurring theme. This is going to be, once again, obtained by your workers. Tef bread. We've seen this one as well. Guess what? You're making a bunch of Tef bread or buying it off the marketplace, as I said, if you want to save yourself a little bit of a headache. Lastly, we are looking at pickled vegetables. If you have done my beginning to master cooking video, then you know about pickled vegetables. If you've ever cooked in this game, you've probably heard about pickled vegetables. Now, with pickled vegetables, these things can proc a blue. So this specific option, or this specific recipe, calls for 2 pickled vegetables. However, you can use 1 blue pickled vegetables if you were to buy it off the marketplace. Cabbage. This is paprika. You buy it from a vendor in Calpheon, or you have your workers get it. Leavening agent, sugar. Both of these items, guess what? You get that from a vendor. Vinegar. Vinegar is something that you also will be crafting and probably have crafted before. You're looking at 1 like wheat or barley or corn or potato, any of those things, alongside a fruit, which in this case is going to be strawberries, because guess what? You can buy that from a vendor. So this is from workers, this is from a vendor, these 2 things are from your cooking vendor. You make a whole bunch of pickled vegetables and you stockpile that for, the foreseeable future, because these are used in quite a few meals, actually. You can never go wrong with having literally hundreds of thousands of pickled vegetables. So with that, pretty straightforward recipe as a whole. This is definitely the most effort in terms of the gathering, in my opinion, but it is a very straightforward recipe as a whole. Now, picking up the Valencia meal once again, we're looking at the 2 easier options, the fig pie and the date palm wine. Now, a couple things to note about this. Your Couscous, Tef Sandwich, and King of Jungle Hamburg are all 1. Meaning you only need to have 1 when packaging them. Keep that in mind when you're trying to say, I'm doing 10,000 crafts of guru boxes, right? If you're doing 10,000 crafts of guru boxes, then guess what? You're going to end up having, 10,000 King of the Jungle Hamburg, 10,000 Tef Sandwich, 10,000 Couscous, but you're going to need 20,000 of your date palm wine and fig pies. These are very, very straightforward. We'll start with the date palm wine. Great for cooking experience, by the way, if you're not already guru and just kind of, for whatever reason, stumbled upon this. First things first, you're going to be looking at your date palms. Now, date palms, also, if you are not a cook, this is a excellent node to have. You are finding your date palms connected to Valencia City, both at the Erdal farm, right here, and the Valencia platoon, right here. And this also has your Frika. These two nodes are absolutely necessary whenever you are trying to do Valencia cooking. You can buy date palms, but that they drastically will cut into your profits if you were to be buying these off of the marketplace. Sugar, leavening agent from a vendor, from your cooking vendor. Essence of liqueur. Wheat flour. Now, wheat flour can be corn flour, potato flour, barley flour, any of the above. 1 wheat flour, 1 strawberry from a vendor, leavening agent from your cooking vendor, and you just make a massive amount of essence of liqueur because they are fairly applicable in quite a few locations. Super straightforward recipe, super good for experience if you are trying to level it up. Or like you're in master and you're prepping to get to guru, so you're able to actually, trade in boxes whenever that time comes around. Now, lastly, we are looking at the infamous fig pie. Both fig pie and date palm do not have a blue proc, so the special ones of like date palm, right? Here, I'll actually show you all on the marketplace. So if we were to look at date palm, the special proc of date palm wine is mild date palm wine. In that situation, you have to still use 2 when you are packaging them. Okay, so you can't skip it and use like a blue iteration, kind of like the pickled vegetables when you're making the King of Jungle Hamburg. Okay, so back over here to the crafting. Let's look at fig pie. Fig pie, equally as straightforward. Now, one thing to note that has been kind of overlooked to some degree or miscalculated within this, you can actually use, instead of wheat dough for some reason has a lower value in comparison to that of corn dough or potato dough or even barley dough. Like, for some reason, wheat dough is kind of bugged. You can actually use, if I'm not mistaken, 1 dough of like corn for this, or at most you would need 2, like 2 corn dough or 2 potato dough. You do not need a full 3 wheat dough. Figs. You are going to find figs in Shikatu. Or not Shikatu, but Shikatu farmland. You have 2 separate fig nodes right here. You want to have these running with really good workers, of which, as you can see, these are my 2. I do have artisan ones, but I haven't fed them in 3 years because, I'm a bad a bad employer, I guess. But all you need for the fig pies is going to be your fig, which you're going to have from workers, your wheat dough, which you're going to be processing with just standard corn or potato flour, and sugar and olive oil are both from cooking vendors. Valencia meal as a whole, though there are a lot of different parts and everything like that to it, it is the best introduction, in my opinion, to guru cooking. The Valencia meal as a whole, because so many of your materials are things that are obtained from your workers in Valencia. All the different recipes kind of work together. The amount of meat gathering that you actually need to do is super minimal. Like, there are recipes or there are meals out there that take, on average, like a Balanos meal, take 18 meat for you to do 1 craft, right? Which is insane. like that's a huge amount of investment. The Valencia meal, on the other hand, you basically have your workers getting you the date palm and the fig pie just straight up. You have a majority of the materials for your Tef Sandwich and King of Jungle Hamburg, and even your Couscous, all from your workers through nutmeg, as well as your Tef. Little bit of processing, and then there's minimal gathering of like a tiny bit of red meat alongside like a tiny bit of lion meat, And then because the gathering location of both scorpion and snake is consolidated into this one location, it is just a very, very streamlined process in terms of getting into guru cooking and making that 150, 200, 250 million silver every single day within the game. And then it also, as you increase in your levels, right, like your actual gathering levels, your actual cooking levels, you're increasing your overall profits. And as you get more and more mastery from actually getting your Manos gear and everything like that, it is a huge deal. One last thing I would like to point out as well: when you are cooking, you realistically want to use silver embroidered cook clothes, just purely under the circumstance that you're reducing your cooking time. +3 is the ideal, alongside using a like life spirit stone if you're kind of getting into it and don't have a Khan's heart. But you want to get your cooking down to that 1 second timer. This is probably already run too long, but I wanted to make a video on this for a long time, and this is going to be the first video of my guru cooking class, I suppose. Talking about the Valencia meal, talking about Balanos meal, talking about Medaya meal. I'm going to kind of go over each individual meal that I feel is actually worth doing. But hopefully you all found this informational. Hopefully you had a good time watching it. And I hope to catch you all next time on Twitch or YouTube. Like the video. Stuff and things. Bye.